Um, Hi everybody, my name is Ashish and Prasad. We are from Facebook and we are going to be talking about how we do data warehousing and analytics at Facebook using Hadoop and Hive, which is something that we have developed in-house at Facebook, and it's open source. Uh, so I'm going to be talking about our motivations for developing this system, and kind of problems that we faced, why we did not invented yet another warehouse. I will also give you some numbers, a flavor of how this system is being used in Facebook, some numbers in terms of the usage patterns and stuff like that. And then Prasad will be talking about the internals of Hive and diving a little bit deeper into the internals of Hive. So, what was the problem? It was very simple: data, data, and more data. To give you a feel of this, we are getting about 200 gigabytes per day in March 2008, and today and that was uncompressed data. Well, yeah, that is true. And today we are getting more than 2 terabytes of compressed data per day. And anything that we tried initially just could not keep up with this kind of scale. So what is the big picture? We just couldn't read the matrix. It was just too hard. So what did we do? We wanted to fit this matrix into a big data warehouse. We started off looking at some of the known vendors in the space. Initially, our warehouse was actually running on a single box Oracle. Now you'll all laugh at that and say, why didn't you use RAC and stuff? That was a mistake. We didn't use RAC at that time, but and somebody told me later that 15 terabytes on a single node Oracle box is probably a world record. And of course, it was world record in terms of size as well as in terms of performance. I mean, in the other direction, in the sense that performance was really, really good, as you can imagine. So we tried that. We looked at a bunch of new companies in the space which were selling, clustered databases, Greencom and Aston Vertica. They were good at what they did, but there were certain other factors that we wanted, which they did not provide us. And at the same time, we started playing around with Hadoop. Hadoop was actually is something that was developed outside Yahoo and then by Doug Cutting, and it was then Doug joined Yahoo, and then a lot of Yahoo's compute runs on Hadoop. Are people familiar here with Hadoop? Yes, no, yes. Okay, good. So it's basically Google's MapReduce, an open source version of that, done all in Java. So we started playing around with it. We liked some of its characteristics, but there were some that we did not like. And I'll go into what we didn't like. And so we put in. So this is a very new Hive logo, which was contributed by open source. We haven't yet put it on our website, but so we then started to develop this thing called Hive on top of Hadoop, which would give us the benefits of Hadoop as well as some benefits of the other systems that we had looked at. And the things really, the two things that we really wanted, wanted from both these systems and put them together, and that was how Hive came around. So some of the pros of Hadoop as compared to the other systems, it was much superior in availability, scalability, and manageability as compared to the other systems. Hadoop, the largest Hadoop cluster is an experiment cluster in Yahoo, which runs at 4,000 nodes. I haven't heard of any other system which is running at such a huge scale. It is not the most efficient piece of software if you just compare a one node performance in terms of raw performance. But the answer to that is that it can scale very big, and it can scale with commodity hardware. Plus, in a warehousing environment, ACID really doesn't help that much. So all the overheads of doing redo logs and undo logs really didn't make much sense for us. And Hadoop really didn't have that. It's basically a file system, and on top of that, there's MapReduce. And what are the bad things about it? As you can imagine, it was hard to program in MapReduce. SQL is very nice. Everybody knows it. Everybody can, almost everyone can write good SQL. But it was a little hard to write MapReduce programs. and it needed a lot of training, retraining of the engineering folks, as well as for analysts it was a total no-no, right? They totally understand SQL. They really didn't want to touch MapReduce even with a long code. And the other thing was the data in Hadoop is all unstructured. It is basically files. So in a typical data warehouse, you think of tables, partitions, columns in tables and stuff like that. So that was not there. So then we said, okay, we can bridge this gap between the functionality and usability, and we can do that with something with Hive. So what is Hive? It is basically a system that allows you to manage and query data, structured data which is stored on Hadoop. It uses Hadoop as its execution engine. It uses MapReduce for execution. It uses HDFS, which is a Hadoop file system, for storing the data. And on top of that, it slaps on metadata on these raw files. Because of this metadata, since it has access to this metadata and the raw data, it is able to basically compile out SQL and convert it into MapReduce plans and run it on Hadoop. Our key building principles, the ease of use was one of the most important things. Therefore, SQL was central to our plans. Extensibility was also central to our plans. We understood that we couldn't build the entire SQL set, and we don't have the entire SQL set today. But if we could make the system really extensible, then people could add on things like types. We have rich types, we have maps and this and stuff like that. They could add their own functions, they could add their own data formats, and the system would be able to serialize, deserialize them. And they could also add their own scripts to do custom computation. And last but not the least, scalability and performance was very important to us, and Hadoop really helped us in that respect. So to give you a flavor, at the top you have a query which is doing aggregation of the filter. Everybody understands this, and at the bottom is the same thing that you would do in Hadoop using Hadoop streaming, which is something where you can write custom mappers and reducers. I don't think I have to say how simple it is for people to write the previous version and how complex it can become. And this is a simple aggregation with filters. So what does our cluster look like? We have more than 600 nodes in our cluster. I think it's the second biggest installation right now, and we are going to add some more nodes. I think we're going to not double up, but at least increase the capacity by 30–40% soon. We use commodity boxes. These boxes are 2K box, $2,000 to $3,000 servers, 8K machines with 4 disks. With 1 terabyte with each disk being 1 terabyte. And this also kind of, since Hadoop is able to scale to these levels, since it's able to go to thousands of nodes, you can use these kind of machines. If you go to other vendors, typically they're talking about a commodity box, but the difference is that that commodity box is about 15K to 20K. So the building blocks are really big for, other, proprietary solutions that we have seen in this space. So, what does data warehousing look like today in Facebook? So we have web servers which collect the logs, and Scribe is our open source log aggregation service. It collects these logs and puts them in filers. And we have a set of so this is all fact data. We have a set of federated MySQL boxes which contain the dimension data. Both of these are scraped. The federated MySQL boxes are scraped nightly, whereas the logs are trickle loaded into Hadoop, into Hive and Hadoop cluster. We then run our summarizations on it, and so all our compute is run inside it, and then we load the summaries to our front-end Oracle rack. Summaries are very small right now. We have about 2 or 3 terabytes of summaries, so that can be served through other, through business intelligence tools, or even through SQL clients, which the analysts are familiar with. That can be served to them, and we also load some of our applications also are computed on this and loaded into the federated MySQL tier to be served to the web users. So typical applications, daily and weekly applications, typical typical ad numbers that you publish, things like unique counts, unique impressions, total impressions. People do ad hoc analysis quite a lot on this. There are data mining data mining based studies being done on this. People build models all the time, score according to those models. Spam detection, people want to figure out whether particular IP is bad or spamming, and they can look at these raw logs with Hadoop and Hive and figure out these things. There are just too many applications at this time to count. When we started off, there was nothing. This was in December 2007. That was when we started off, and right now it's we have almost like more than 100 unique users using the system every month, and those are just the ones that are doing ad hoc analysis. So clearly, a lot of it served a real purpose in Facebook. Some user statistics. Total data in the warehouse is around 1.7 petabytes. This is raw data. Hadoop has a 3-day replication, so the actual data is like 3 times, like a div 3 of this. Cluster capacity is around 2.4 petabytes. We're getting about 15 terabytes of data out of it every day. This is uncompressed data, 6 terabytes of logs. Now it's more than that. These slides are a little dated. We compress everything and store it in HDFS. Compression, we use gzip. We have started experimenting with gzip. We find that to compress a lot, but it's obviously stored in gzip. So we're thinking of like putting old data to gzip compress it. 3,200 jobs a day, 800,000 tasks a day, 50 terabytes of compressed data scans done daily. You name it. This is pretty big. Flavor of the way the size of the file system is growing. It's approaching 400 terabytes now. This is the actual storage, so you multiply it with like 3 to get the actual raw storage that it uses. You see a big drop at the very end, and that is us going and cleaning the junk data, since we want to operate the file system at around 60% utilization, 60 to 70% utilization, and as soon as we start getting to 80% utilization in terms of raw storage, we start going after the users and asking them if they really need the data and try to remove it. So periodically you see these drops happening. We have put in some automated. We have put in some retention policies as well in order to deal with this, and we are still developing the system. So a lot of good stuff coming on. With that, I'll pass it to Prasad to talk about the Hive internals.
I'll talk about some of the design and how we do joins and group buys, and some of the features we have and roadmap. This is a little bit dated because we've been actively developing it. Few of new modules have been added, but this kind of gives you. We have a metastore. It's backed in a DB. It could be any JDBC DB. We have a command line. You can issue DDLs, queries, and stuff. We have the server that does it's like any database. It does the parsing. It builds a basic plan. And then we have an optimizer that does a few optimization stuff, such as predicate pushing and column pruning and some basic query rewrite, and we're actually building more there. And then once we have the plan, then we give this plan to the MapReduce part of Hadoop. Basically, this plan gets executed on thousands of maps and reduces. That's the execution part. So during the execution, data is read using a module called SARDI. It's very customizable. You can add more SARDI. SARDI stands for serialization, deserialization, and we support Thrift and a few other SARDIs, and users can write their own SARDI depending upon what kind of format their data is in. So we also have a web UI. It'll run queries for you. It's about data model. So we have tables. The table is just a directly in HDFS. Yeah. Yeah, Metastore stores data location, bucketing info, and partitioning columns. I'll tell you what this is. So basically, table is immutable in HDFS. You can't modify files. You can't do random writes to HDFS files. So once table is loaded, you can't change it. So that creates a problem. When you get logs every day, you want to keep appending to the table. So what we have something called partition tables. Every day, if you look at the bottom there, every day you could create a separate subdirectory, and we call that a partition, and you can keep on adding partitions. Then we have further structure on top of that, buckets. So each partition or a table can have buckets. These buckets are basically hash partition. These correlate to the reducers usually. This is we use for sampling and also efficient joins and stuff. Yes.
Does Hive provide the hash partitioning, or where's that functionality provided from?
You can say how many partitions you want to.
That's part of Hadoop.
Yes.
Right, it's part of it. So a table can have partition columns. So you could provide date or country date or any combination of them, and you could load each of these partitions separately as and when data arrives. This is the feature set for SQL. We have subqueries in from clause, not in as separate. We have equi joins, not other kind of joins. We have multi-table insert. This is not something that is in SQL, I suppose. So you can do a single pass on the table, and using different predicates and group bys, you can store into different tables. And this is useful optimization when you're doing a lot of group bys on a single log table, let's say. We do sampling, and people use sampling quite a bit so that they can prototype queries and build application later on. We support lists and maps of primitive objects. We support most of the primitive objects. And a lot of things are extensible. You could write your own scripts, something like procedural language, I suppose, SQL procedures or something like that. User-defined functions, we have a lot of built-in aggregation functions and regular functions, but it's very easy to add your own functions, and you can add your own types. It's a little bit of work, but you can add your own types, and of course you can have your own data format, whatever format that you want. It's not like proprietary format or anything. If you already have a lot of existing data, you could write a SRD and then just load it into Hive. Loading is just moving the data to HDFS. So this is a simple MapReduce if you don't know. There are two machines, each machine get a portion of the data, and the map basically creates new keys saying which row should go to which reducer, and then there is a shuffle. Basically, each reducer gets the keys that it is responsible for, and then it reduces that data, builds an aggregation or whatever it is, and then writes out to the files. This is simple MapReduce. So I'm just going to give an example for a join. This is a SQL query. I'm going to show how we do it in HDFS. So page view table and user table, and we're going to join on the user ID. So the map basically converts, makes a key of the user ID, and then value saying that the first part of the value is which table it is coming from. One denotes the page view table, and the second one is what is the page ID. And the second mapper, the key is same as the first mapper, which is the user ID, and the value is the first part of the value is the tag of the user table, saying that this is from user table, and the second part is the age that we are interested in. So all the 111 keys goes to the, okay, all the 111 keys goes to one reducer, and 222 keys goes to the next reducer, and it can do the aggregation part. So this group by, which is done similarly, I'm just running through. If you have any questions, you can catch me later on. I think time is up. We do a lot of optimizations. The basic plan is not really, it can be very slow if you have lots of amount of data. So we do map side aggregations itself instead of putting sending all of the data to reduce. So some of the optimizations that we are working on. So we can do distincts as well, count distincts and distincts. When there is skew in the data, one reducer will get all of these keys, and that can be a problem if reducer doesn't have enough memory. So you can do multiple stages, like you can hash them on a random key so that you can do two-stage aggregation. You can do some tricks there to handle skews. Sure. So a lot of contributors and yeah, this is the home page and different stuff.
One question?
Pardon?
So generally, what does your schema look like?
We have like 10,000 tables and there are different schemas and we don't really, I mean, there's no representative schema. A lot of users create tables and they have their own schemas. But most of them, we rarely use complex types, but most of them are primitive types. That helps. Yeah.
Did you end up having to add any interesting security or audit control privileges here, since there's some very user private data in this warehouse?
It is actually only available to it's actually only available to engineering folks. Any other department is not able to get to it.
So it's still binary, so like if the site had an HDFS or so on to track it or anything?
No, we are going to migrate to Hadoop.19 and .20 soon, which has got ACL support. We are right now on .17, which doesn't have ACL support yet. It's got a fairly limited amount of ACL support. So we're going to migrate to that soon, and then we will be able to do it at a very fine-grained level. But inside Facebook, most of the engineering has access to this.
Can you comment about your performance?
Performance?
Yes. For example, when you implemented a huge amount of data in order to get to aggregate some information. Yes.
So about let's see, about we're getting about in about a couple of hours we are able to aggregate close to not actually a couple of hours, like about 30 minutes we are able to aggregate around a terabyte of data which we are getting from one of the pipelines. And the performance scales by throwing in more reducers. So the typical pipeline that I'm talking about runs with 500 reducers. But you can run the total reduced capacity of the cluster is like 2,800 reducers. So you can so we try to not give all the reducers to every job, so that there can be fair sharing around processes. You don't want to like one single process to take over the entire cluster, but you can scale it with the number of reducers. Yes.
Is there any possibility to predict the number of Hadoop servers, Hadoop plus Hive servers, if we have, say, we have a typical, quite big project, but not as big as Facebook. So, for example, let's take the number of logs, the amount of logs of 100 gigabytes, something
Right.
like that.
Correct.
Is it possible to somehow, these are access logs,
Right.
and if someone wants to use the same technique to analyze, is it possible to predict the number of?
To some extent, yes. We typically go by using a rule saying that about 1 to 2 gigabytes of data to a reducer. So if suppose you have like 100 gigabytes of data and you want to distribute it over reducers, so you need like 50 reducers. So that means at least 50 cores in your cluster, maybe more. So typically you would have same number of mappers and reducers. So that means at least 100 cores in the cluster. So that is the way you would size the number of cores, and then you can size the amount of storage that comes with the cores depending upon the costs.
But it's quite expensive because these 100 gigabytes are produced by 100 of application servers, and then I need another 100 of Hadoop servers just to.
Not Hadoop, 100 Hadoop servers, 100 cores. So if you go with 8 core boxes, then you need like 12 servers, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. I think the time is up. We are offline, so you can come and ask any questions.